The opinions, viewpoints, and beliefs presented on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the management, the affiliates and broadcast partners, or the sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Scarefest Radio, the radio you can see.
Before Satan Claus breezed in here, you were making some kind of a point?
I was just saying that Christmas is a shame.
Oh, Christ, not this again.
This time of year when I was very young, my great-grandmother would sit us all around a roaring fire and scare the pants off us with creepy stories.
Scary stories on Christmas Eve? What makes you think those are going to make a comeback?
Trust me, I know a thing or two about resurrection.
I love that idea. I say we each take turns telling two stories. Whoever tells the worst one picks up the tab.
Good idea. I suggest we dig up some old ghosts.
And hello and welcome, everybody. Hey, Jake Godbold, unmute your damn computer because everybody else says that they have audio. So, anyway, that's the way things work around here. This is Scarefest TV, and the original broadcast date is October 1st. October damn 1st. I'm not ready to drop the F-bomb yet. October damn 1st. Yes, people, in 21 days... Well, actually, 20 days I'll be there because I'm going to the launch party because that's the type of person I am. But anyway, the Scarefest is upon us. That's the way things work around here. Tonight, okay, I do not have any celebrity announcements. I'll just go ahead and throw that out to you because we got two contracts that I know of that they did not countersign. Everything's agreed on. We didn't get them back in time for the show. And we're sticklers for details around here. But I'm going to go over, if I can tonight, even if I run long, I'm going to go over the schedule of events that I've been working diligently on, like till midnight every damn day. We got a lot of stuff going on. And our guest tonight is Mr. PJ Starks. And by the way, my co-host is the Chad Harlan, whose banner is down on the website for being the official announcer of Scarefest. So,
Happy spooky season, everybody.
I'm gonna now see this is an involvement, Chad. You're on the website now as the announcer. Next thing you know, you'll be the voice of Scarefest.
I could never fill those shoes.
Well, you don't do it with your shoes, dude. Anyway, PJ Stark is a filmmaker who is getting rather, we'll call it recognition, PJ. People are starting to know who you are for a little Kentucky boy. And you're producing some good stuff. Now, in full disclosure, I didn't get to watch a whole lot of your stuff. because I'm busy with Scarefest. I did watch some of it, so just, not to the point I'd call it research, but it's very nicely filmed. Okay. I was on your IMDb page. First thing I want you to do to me, talk to me like I'm a fifth grader. Explain to me the difference between an executive producer, and an associate producer.
Oh, you're gonna put me on the spot. So a producer, for all intents and purposes, I'll simplify this as much as humanly possible. A producer is someone who facilitates the process of getting the film made from conception to completion. So like when I produce a film, I'll be a part of the project from the very moment that it starts, and I'll have my hand in pretty much every facet of the process along the way until it's completely edited and approved and then put out there for everybody to see.
Okay, that was pretty much my understanding of producer.
Right. Now, as an executive producer, that can be anything from an honorary title. So like you'll see executive producer or from executive producer Steven Spielberg, where he may not have done really anything on the project except allow his name to be attached to it.
Like most of Felissa Rose's movies. Go ahead.
Does he executive produce all of her movies? Is that what you're saying?
I have spent countless hours watching movies that Felissa Rose was like in 10 seconds of. I'm learning if it says featuring anybody, don't bother.
That happens.
Just don't bother. Go ahead.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't do anything like that. So like if I'm executive producing, I'm usually in there doing various different capacities, but executive producing is kind of a catch-all. Most of my duties I do behind a desktop or a laptop. So I'll help from anything from just creative consulting to helping with the script to helping find cast or crew, or occasionally, I really don't do a whole lot in terms of like from the financing end, but I will help with like securing distribution, promotions, stuff like that. So now associate producer, usually that's someone who's helping the producer, and a lot of what they deal with is money related, sort of like a line producer. That's the problem with producers. There's so many different types of producers, but a lot of them there's gray areas and they start to kind of overlap on top of one another.
Well, I
like
mean, that makes sense. Okay. Now from outside looking in, now producer I knew. I was pretty up on that. But I've had people tell me that if you see associate producer, it probably just means they had to figure something to do with your name.
That's true as well.
that one might have been executive producer.
Well, and then with the advent of crowdfunding campaigns and things, and that's the other thing. You'll see a lot of names on especially independent films now for associate producers or executive producers, and sometimes actual producer credits, where that's just someone who bought their way onto the project because of crowdfunding. You don't see a main producer title so much. I don't do main producers. Like I won't offer a producer, full-blown producer credit on the projects that I do, because I think that's something that's meant for someone who is literally a part of the project from beginning to end. And that's not to say that people who don't help financially aren't important, but I think that's kind of the purpose for executive producer credits. Yeah,
well,
so.
You don't get credit. I mean, you don't get famous usually for just giving people money to do things. Yeah, I understand. It takes some talent, in other words, not just a checkbook.
Right.
Now, I want to get into this, but this might just blow away the entire hour. Now, when did you finish 13 Slaves?
We finished it. So it was editing and the post-production completed in was the beginning of November of 2020.
Okay. Now, when was the body?
And then we actually, so
well,
go ahead.
The follow up to that, you can get into it, but what does that mean for the filming of it? If you were going in the can in November, when was most of this filmed?
The majority of it got filmed starting in, it was June or July of 2020. We started back up. So I'll back up just a little bit. What happened is my producing partner and I were in the process of trying to get Volumes of Blood 3 financed, and it wasn't really panning out very well. Sometimes that happens. We weren't really getting the funding we needed to get that project off the ground. I'd come up with the idea for 13 Slays Till Christmas when we were making Volumes of Blood horror stories. So that was 2017, but I took the idea and put it on the shelf because the whole idea was to do a Volumes of Blood trilogy. And so for the better part of 2 years, we tried to finance the movie. It wasn't panning out. And then in August of 2019, I sat down with Eric. Eric Huskisson is the other half of Blood Moon Pictures, which is our production company. And so he and I sat down and we were having like our 100,000th, it felt like at that point, meeting about trying to get financing for this movie. And I just said, dude, this is not working out. And I was really itching to do something. So at that point, we decided to pull another idea off the shelf that we knew we could do for very little capital. And that ended up being 13 Slays Till Christmas. And honestly, I was just itching to do something. Like it had been a while. And I was tired of talking about making a movie, and I wanted to make a movie. So that's when pre-production began, essentially was August of 2019. So jump ahead, got the filmmakers, started assembling the crews and everything. The film was done. Usually when we've done our anthologies in the past, we've shot everything here in Owensboro. But this time we wanted to offer the filmmakers a chance to have creative control so they could pick their stories, write their scripts, have final cut, pick their crews and everything, cast and everything. And we oversaw that. And I mean, we had some level of approval, but mostly like from our end, it was giving them technical guidelines in order to keep like a cohesive look and feel to the movie. So the movie started shooting in February of 2020.
Before
and then
Armageddon.
we were, yeah, exactly. So what happened is March 14th was the day before we were supposed to start filming the first of 4 segments here in Owensboro. And that's when they started talking about the shutdowns and locking everything down. So the very next day on Friday, the production went into hiatus because we lost all of our locations. We contacted all the filmmakers and said, look, none of us really knows what's happening. None of us have been through a global pandemic. I was pretty certain we were going to be burning piles of bodies in the streets in about 6 months from that point. So the movie production got put on hold. And then, jump a few months later and things started kind of opening up. So we decided that we felt like we got with all the other filmmakers. We all kind of talked and discussed things. It felt like it was time to start getting the production going again because we wanted to have it completed and out by December of 2020. And we were supposed to have all this buffer time. And by the time we started back up on production, our original plan was to have already had a premiere, to already have submitted it and got it into festivals. So start getting it on this like brief festival run, and all that went out the window with the pandemic. So,
oh, it worked out. You got to move 13 Slays of Christmas to Scarefest 13, so it's going to coincide nicely.
Exactly. Well, and that's the funny thing. I mean, when we were living it, it seemed horrible. But really looking back, what it did, it gave us more time to kind of get things in line. Some of the filmmakers, unfortunately, there were a couple filmmakers the original directors that had to drop out of the project. So that also gave us time to find some replacements. And then several of the other filmmakers who hadn't begun production on their segments yet, they had to retool their concepts because some of the areas were still pretty heavy with protocols and rules and regulations and things. So the ideas they had initially, they couldn't do. So they had to get together with more of a skeleton crew, or they may have had like a scene that had a whole big group of people or something, and they had to get rid of that. So, but I mean, in the end, and I think everybody saw you saw the trailer. It considering all the hurdles and the challenges that everybody involved with the project had, it ultimately ended up becoming something that I was far more proud of than I thought I was going to be from the beginning. I mean, I never thought it was going to be like a shit movie or anything, but it far exceeded my expectations for what was initially just supposed to be kind of a fun one-off. And I don't know if maybe it was the pandemic that kind of really brought the best out of everyone. Because I mean, that's at the end of the day, when you're making a project, that's really kind of that's what it's about. It's about being creative. So when you're put in a position to where your resources and your time and even what was supposed to originally be your concept is limited, that forces you to have to be more creative than maybe you would given all the resources that you had originally.
I know that I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you're good. I was pretty much done. I was just going to say that everybody really came through and helped make what is probably the project I'm most proud of from a producing standpoint.
Well, I know that's exciting because I know anybody who's watched your previous projects know how great they are. So it'll be if this is one that you're exceptionally proud of, I'm sure it's something we're all waiting to see. But
well, I appreciate you saying.
I think we're a little past due for a break, so let's toss to Wes for first commercial.
And now a commercial break from Scarefest TV.
Horror. Movies. Fans. For. Life. On Facebook. Find us. For watch parties. For news. For memes. For friends. For life. Horror movie fans for life. Join us.
Everyone is talking about CBD oil. Most of us know that CBD is a cannabis compound that has significant medical benefits, but does not make people high. Its benefits include pain relief, anti-seizure properties, anxiety relief, fights cancer, reduces the risk of diabetes, and it is even used as a sleep aid. Blue Leaf Naturals CBD and hemp products are full-spectrum hemp extract oils. They use only hemp grown in Kentucky, supporting Kentucky farmers and businesses and helping you and your family stay healthy and well. Blue Leaf Naturals, created with care from seed to shelf. Visit their website at blueleafnaturals.com. Blue Leaf Naturals, a Kentucky proud company.
Welcome back, everybody. PJ, let's get a little background. How did you end up doing this as a young man from Owensboro?
I mean, I was 12. I wanted to be a storyteller, so my grandparents got me a VHS camera, and it was pretty much from that point on. That's when I decided that I wanted to be a filmmaker. Now, what roles I played, that changed over time. At first I wanted to be a writer, then I decided that instead of that I wanted to be an actor, and then I don't really consider myself much of an actor, so then I decided that I would rather be a director, and I stuck with that. And then eventually, once I got more serious about directing and making films in 2008, that's when eventually I started gravitating more towards producing, and that's mostly what I do now. Occasionally I will direct something. Like I directed a sequence in 13 Slays. I directed something in Volumes of Blood back in 2014. But I mostly produce now.
Well, with that, how was horror what you landed on when you started looking at this? I know at 12 years old, were you already a fan, or is that something that evolved a little later?
I grew up on horror films. My grandmother, she passed away last year. She was to look at her, you would never know in a million years that she was a horror fan. She looked like that Norman Rockwell painting of an apple pie grandmother. Like that's what she looked like, with the roller and the apron and everything. And but she loved horror and sci-fi. So I grew up with her watching. So like every weekend I would spend the night at their house, and then we would spend the weekend, watching Ray Bradbury Theater and Monster Vision and The Hitchhiker, Tales from the Dark Side, stuff like that. And of course I rented all kinds of horror movies. And that's really where my love for horror started, was my grandmother. Her name was Almeda, but we called her Gigi. So that's where it started. And then when I first started making videos and things, because it began when I was in middle school, and then eventually I'd started doing stuff, got involved with video production in high school. Most everything I did was comedy, or comedy based. But really, I wanted to make horror films, really what I wanted to do. And then in 2008, I finally was like, all right, I'm going to make a horror film, a horror feature. And that was Hallows Eve Slaughter on 2nd Street. So that was the first feature that I did, and it was horror. Now, it has a bunch of comedy in it, too, because it's kind of an adult version of Scooby-Doo. Because, I grew up on Scooby-Doo, and I love Scooby-Doo. So I wanted to kind of do my take on that franchise. And and I still, now I'll put comedy in a lot of my stuff. I have a hard time not throwing in a dick or fart joke, especially because Kevin Smith is a huge inspiration of mine. And in the stuff that I write, you can see his influence in my writing. So that's really where, I guess, so my love of horror came from my grandmother, and then eventually when I got more serious about filmmaking, that's the genre that I gravitated towards most.
So you mentioned your first movie. How did you one, get the idea, and what roles did you take in that? Did you produce and direct and write, or how did you kind of get your foot into the industry as far as getting into your first production?
Well, as with anybody who starts doing this, getting more serious about it, pitfall is a lot of the time, especially when I started doing it, you didn't have all the social media and things back then. I think MySpace was like the big deal at the time. So that was about as close as I got to having any kind of social media. So pretty much the downfall was that I didn't really have that ability to reach out to people and find out who else was really interested in doing this. outside of the people that I knew directly. And I did have some connections with like the local high school because I was a rose curtain player at OHS. And then of course there's Theater Workshop of Owensboro, and I was good friends, or I ended up, once I decided I wanted to make this movie, I ended up getting in contact with like Todd Reynolds, who's the executive director of that now, but at the time he was, he worked with them, but was an actor, and he was my gateway actor to all the other actors and talent for us to try to find other people who were interested in this. But in terms of crew, for the first film, I pretty much had to do everything: shooting, lighting, sound, and a lot of it, is just finding equipment that holds the boom mic. I mean, I had people to help, but it was a really, really small crew. And that's where a lot of people have to start out, because you don't really, at the time especially, it was a lot harder to find others who were interested in this. But by way of doing it, putting myself out there, and then of course, with the invention of all the newer social media that's come along the way, that opened up the door to reach out and find other people in the region who are interested in doing this. And funny enough, when I still, even when I did Volumes of Blood at the Davis County Public Library in 2014, that group of people to help still was pretty small. So by the time that we ended up making Volumes of Blood horror stories, Volumes of Blood had really, that's what got my name out there. And then with horror stories, it was a lot easier to find people. People started coming out of the woodworks saying, hey, we want to be involved. We want to help you out. We like what you guys are doing. And so that allowed us to bring people on. So by the time we got to that production, we had usually between 25 and 30 people on set every time from a cast and crew standpoint. So and more hands on deck tends to be the best scenario, because there's always something happening, and you usually need, there's downtime. Of course, there's times when like people are sitting around on their asses and not much to do. But usually when things get moving, it's always nice to have as many people there who aren't sharing responsibilities. If you have someone whose sole purpose for being there is strictly one position, like one person running sound, one person being director of photography, usually there's only one director. If everybody can focus on what they're supposed to be doing, you usually walk away with a much better product.
Right. Oh, I think we're coming up on our next break, so let's go ahead and toss to that. We'll be back in a minute.
Spirit Mechanics is here to help. Their background includes many different specialties across the metaphysical spectrum, including alchemy, shamanism, Celtic witchcraft, angelic magic, astral travel, and more.
With over 30 years combined experience in the group, you can be confident in their ability to help. If there is a question you have that you cannot answer, they will do their best to assist you.
Metaphysics can be intimidating, confusing, and unfortunately, abused. Spirit Mechanics takes pride in being selfless in the pursuit of helping others, being humble and honest with their clients about their questions, and lastly, maintaining a professional and personable atmosphere. They want you to feel as you are coming to a close friend, and they will do everything in their power to make you comfortable and safe.
TellMeTarot.com. Rare tarot and oracle decks for the discerning enthusiast or collector. Odd decks are not for everyone. If you are a rare deck collector, art collector, or simply fall in love with a deck, then we might be for you. Right now, get 10% off your first order just for subscribing to their newsletter. Shipping is just $5.99 in the United States. TellMeTarot.com.
And welcome back, everybody, to Scarefest TV. Now for the business portion of our episode. First, before we go to do that, though, I'm giving a shout-out, an official shout-out to Meredith Blackwell, whether she's watching tonight or not. She gave me the coolest Hawaiian shirt that I cannot wait to premiere. I can't wear it on screen, though, because it's got a lot of green in it, and I'm on a green screen, so do the math. But anyway, Meredith Blackwell, thank you very much. Meant to do this last week, but I suck. Okay. Don't forget, everybody, coming up at the Scarefest Friday this will be on the entertainer stage, they're calling it. But anyway, Casualty Friday coming up 7 p.m. It's included with your Scarefest Pass. Not included with your Scarefest Pass, but tickets are on sale for Throwing Axes with Killers. We've got a whole slew of movie killers that you can go in and throw axes with on teams. It's a little over halfway sold out. We probably will sell it out the weekend of the con, because once people have a couple of beers, they tend to spend money. The point is, if you're thinking about doing it, go ahead and get your ticket. It's going to be worth it. You're going to be there for a couple hours. Probably I think the axe throwing actually takes about an hour to go through, so you can do the math there. But that's quality time locked in a building with sharp objects with your favorite celebrities. And if you're not into sharp objects, the blunt object that might be the subject of your murder trial. Scream Queens in the Lex Live Bolorama. We still have team spots on that. Now, there you get to actually pick your team. We've sold out a couple, but we've got several that are not sold out, but that's also on Friday night going on at 9 p.m. This is at Lex Live. Basically, you get to bowl with some of your favorite Scream Queens. Psychic Medium gallery reading from Tessa Del Zoppo. She's a big deal up north, everybody, up in the New York area. She does casinos and everything. She's branching out, you might say. She'll be down here in Kentucky doing a gallery reading at Lex Live. Tickets are on sale for that. She's very gifted. Go to her website. It's TessaDelZoppo.com, I believe, and you can find out more about her. And, of course, just plain old buy your tickets. Get your tickets now. You don't have to stand in line and hand money over and that kind of stuff. You can go on, get your tickets, and I did forget to load the banner. The photo ops are on sale, too. We got a whole bunch of the photo ops. About the only thing we're lacking right now is the exact schedule as far as what, you'll know what day the photo op is, but you may not know exactly what time. That's okay, because everybody goes Scarefest and stays all damn day. And don't forget, the Central Kentucky Mystical Market will not happen in October because there are only so many hours in the day, and it is presented by the same people. Okay, that's the business portion. Now I'm gonna back up here. First of all, everybody watching, do not Google adult version of Scooby-Doo. Do not Google adult version of Scooby-Doo, no matter what our guest says. And I do want to say that was
at least not on a work computer.
That was
right.
I think that was, Chad, was that our first horror movie grandma story? That our guest was inspired by their grandmother?
Think it may be, except for, I don't know, can we count Psycho?
We haven't interviewed Psycho. Chad, think.
Never mind.
The show. Just the show. Anyway. Now follow up to another comment you made there, PJ. Now, have you actually worked on a shit movie?
Have I worked on a shit movie?
That you're willing to say, yes, I worked on a shit movie.
Yeah, I've worked on a couple shit movies, and they were, I would say, probably the shittiest movies I've worked on were the ones that were mine from early on. Even before, because I have 2 feature films I made before Hallows Eve, and one of them is pretty bad.
But, okay, now when you made it, did you know it was bad, though?
No.
Okay, see, I don't count.
Nobody sets out. Nobody. You'll hear other filmmakers say this. Nobody sets out to make a shitty movie. Sometimes mitigating circumstances or things beyond your control, or sometimes stuff looks better on paper than it actually is. Sorry, that was my bad. But sometimes things look better on paper than oh my God, than when you actually film them, and or just at the time. I mean, sometimes perspectives change, because I mean, there's things at one time that I thought were good, and now I look back and I'm like, I don't know why I thought that was good. You know, it's like hairstyles. At some point, we all have a hairstyle that we love, and then we look back on it and we were like, oh fuck, that is awful.
My hair was awesome. I had a mullet. It was great.
You should have made a movie about it.
Now, kind of a follow up to that. Now, okay, now you do some writing also. Now, I read somewhere, somebody told me that the secret to writing a screenplay or writing a movie is to write it like you have all the budget in the world, and then if it comes down to it and the car crash has to be somebody throwing oranges at you, you make the adjustments. Do you write with that in mind, or when you write something, do you really try to picture this is what I could get away with under normal circumstances?
With all due respect, whoever said that is really fucking wrong. Because the best way to go about it is to write, first of all, what you know. And then I think the better filmmakers are the ones who know what their limitations are. Because if you write something where you've got a plane crashing into something, or we'll just go with some crate, like if you're going to make an alien invasion, right? But it can't, and in your mind you're saying Independence Day or Battle Los Angeles. And when you shoot it, because you don't have the budget for it, you have people running around in like cardboard alien suits. And
I watched that movie.
Shooting Nerf guns. Yeah, shooting Nerf guns at each other. That is definitely going to be, like you said earlier, a shit movie.
The reason
I think you're setting yourself.
First of all,
you're setting yourself up for failure.
First of all, I've read it on the internet, so we know it had to be true. But I remember talking one time about a movie I watched, and I think I was trying to find some celebrity that I was interviewing that was in it for like 10 seconds, featuring but okay, it was a zombie movie, and they spent all their money on the zombie makeup because it was obvious that once you got past the zombie makeup, there was nothing there. It's just absolutely nothing. It was like, they still, in other words, they went ahead with the movie and said, well, right, we've hired a makeup guy, let's go on. So that's kind of why I always ask that. Now, this is a little more of a opinion / technical question. First of all, as a filmmaker, as a producer, everything else you do, has streaming been good to you? I guess that's the simplest way to ask it. Everything nowadays is streamed. Used to be you had to go out and hawk DVDs. If you were lucky, you got it in a theater or two. But for the effort and the everything, do you think, I guess I'm asking kind of, does streaming, do you think, takes away from the personal experience sometimes, or do you, is it overall better for the industry?
Well, I can say it's from an independent filmmaker perspective, which is obviously the only one I can give. I would say what streaming has done in a lot of ways, especially because there are a lot of varied streaming services. There's ones that, there's truthfully ones that I probably will not be getting on anytime soon because the stuff that they accept is a little further outside of what I'm doing, or most of the people that I know are doing. But what it has done is it opens up the door for more exposure. From a financial standpoint, and I'm not going to get it. Obviously, not going to get into all the specifics there as far as finances, but it's good and bad. It has ebbs and flows. But what it does is it gives you more of a broader audience, because it's when you're doing independent films, one of the areas that a lot of filmmakers go into not putting a whole lot of thought into is the latter part of production, which comes in the form of promotion and trying to get yourself out there. So when you have an independent film, a lot of independent filmmakers don't really know what they're going to do with it or what the next step is going to be. But what a lot of these streaming sites have done, like Tubi, for instance, because we have a film on Tubi, it's allowing our film to be able to be seen by hundreds of thousands or more of people that normally, wouldn't get a chance to see it. Because like right now with 13 Slaves Till Christmas, we do have a streaming deal that we just signed up for that's going to start. It's going to hit in December, and we're really excited about it because it's with a bigger company. So we know that's going to allow a lot more people who may not normally be able to see 13 Slaves Till Christmas. It's going to give them a chance to do that, because otherwise the only way you're going to know or be able to see 13 Slaves Till Christmas is you have to go to ScreamTeamReleasing.com and pick up a Blu-ray copy that I have right here. But I'm also, see, that's the other thing. I'm also a big fan of physical media. To me, physical media is not dead. What I found interesting was I was having a lot of back and forth a couple of years ago with some people about how, they were saying how stupid it is to own a ton of physical movies because of streaming, because of how easy it is. Everything's right there. Everything's digital. It doesn't take up any space. And then not long after that conversation, one of the bigger ones ended up, I guess, going bankrupt, and they closed their doors. Now they told everyone that everybody was going to be able to keep their library of films that they had purchased. But from what I was to understand, when they went under, a lot of those, I can't say a lot, but some of the people that I know that I talked to lost all their films, access to their movies. So all that money that they had spent in building this collection, this digital collection, was gone. Because literally overnight, this company went bankrupt and they lost all the movies that they had accumulated. Whereas me, I've got like 5,000 movies upstairs in a big walk-in closet. So if the internet goes down tomorrow, I'm still gonna have all of my movies. Now, if the power goes out, then they don't do me any good. But of course, that's a post-apocalyptic talk. So,
which is very apropos for the times we live in now.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do our last commercial break here. Now this one, like I said, mics aren't muted. If you see something you want to comment on, just go right ahead. We're going to talk about Scarefest sponsors. Our newest sponsor, turn those back on, yeah, like that. Okay, Hypnotic Aromas, affordable luxury. I didn't have these slides loaded correctly. That was on me. Hypnotic Aromas just signed up to be what we're calling now sponsoring vendor. Affordable luxury, crystal healing candles, and metaphysical gifts. Wildcat Movers. They make having Scarefest possible. You can give me credit, you can give Adrian credit, you can give Brandon Nicole. At the end of the day, these people move all of our shit in and then come and pick it up. God bless their hearts. The official mover of the Scarefest, Blyce Paranormal Productions. If you're a paranormal team and you want to do your own little documentary or film and investigation, talk to these people. Go to facebook.com/BlyceVids. Just look up Shane Blythe. You'll find him. But yeah, he's
Shane does great work.
And look him up. And he's got the equipment. to set you up right. Okay, I'm gonna go back to us now. We'll come back to that. All right, I'll toss it over to Chad now. Get in a couple more questions.
I'm still hung up on the guy who writes, produces, and directs horror movies saying that you have to write what you know. I'm a little worried about, what's going on when the movies aren't going.
That sounds like something that would come out of my mouth, Chad. Continue.
Tell us a little bit. We saw the trailer, but give us a little bit of idea what we're going to see in 13 Slaves of Christmas.
All right. Before I comment on that, just real quick, I'm going to say, when I say write what you know, I'm saying going back to the whole limitations. So if, don't write big, huge, crazy things in your movies that you're not going to be able to accomplish. Now, that's not to say, I have scripts that I've written that I know right now I won't be able to get made because the budgets would need to be much larger. So those are ones that I plan to hopefully make in the future once I get to that level. But right now, I'm not going to try to make them because I know they're going to look like fucking balls. And I don't want to put something that I'm excited about. I don't want to jump the shark, So that's pretty much what I was saying. I'm not saying don't write something fantastical or big budget. If you have that idea, you definitely should be sitting down and writing it and hopefully following the dream that leads you to potentially making that movie. So do that. What was your other question about 13 Slaves?
I just asked, give us a little bit of synopsis. What are we going to see?
Oh, okay. It's about 5 individuals who are brought to a bar the night before Christmas by a mysterious email. And none of them really know for certain why they're there. And to pass the time, they decide to resurrect the old tradition of telling scary stories on Christmas Eve. And each of them takes a turn telling 2 scary stories on the basis that whoever tells the 2 worst stories is going to have to pay everybody's bar tab, so they make it like a game out of it. But as the night goes on, it's very possible that they're all connected somehow by a horrible thing that happened in the past. And you kind of see that story play out. But amongst that story playing itself out, you get everything from killer Christmas garland to a evil Christmas clown to psychopathic killers and evil dolls. It pretty much runs the gamut. There's revenge killings. There's folklore come to life. There's a whole lot in the movie. And the great thing, the way the movie was designed was there's 13 stories. So there's 12 stories that each of the 5 main characters are telling. And then of course the 13th is the wraparound. But you also get 15 different filmmakers. Some are from Kentucky. We have some out of Nevada, Ohio, and other places. I can't remember. I'm brain farting right now. But six of the sequences were shot here in Kentucky, 4 here in Owensboro, 2 of them from Louisville, and the rest of the sequences were done by other mostly well-known indie filmmakers from around the country. And they all did an incredible job on their sequences. And what's Rocky Gray did the score. He has his 1031 franchise, which you can also get at screamteamreleasing.com. But Rocky was the former drummer of Evanescence, and he's a really good guy, and I've worked with him on several projects. And he gives a musical cohesiveness to the project because he did the score for all the sequences. And it's a fun movie. It's got scares and laughs, and there's some things that make you think. It's got a little bit of social commentary, not too much. But with so many stories and so many filmmakers, you're getting something different pretty much every 6 to 7 minutes. So if you're, if you're bored with one sequence, which not too many people have had that problem, then 6 minutes later you're being exposed to new terrors around the corner. So it really gives you an opportunity to see something different and be exposed to a different filmmaker.
I know I'm looking forward to seeing it. Let me toss it over to Wes to round us on out.
Quick question from the chat room. They do want to know, one of my viewers that lives in Owensboro, you got anything going on closer to home right now? Now, he's coming Scarefest, but do you have anything on the calendar?
So yeah, we have a couple things that we're working on film-wise. We've got a couple. We have an event type project we're working on. As far as films go, we are working on a new project. We're in the early stages of that. It's actually a script that I wrote back in 2010, and I'm doing some rewrites and stuff on it now. We're looking at having that be our next project. But we're used to doing a lot of these micro budget movies, so we've decided that we want to try to do something a little different, go in a bit of a different direction with this next one. I'm not going to get into all the details about it, but we are working on something new. It will be shot here in Owensboro, is the plan. But we have to cross our T's and dot our I's and hopefully get some people to open up their checkbooks in the process. So, because we ultimately know we can do another one of these smaller projects, but we want to try to put ourselves out there and do something a little bit bigger this next go around. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And then of course I'm super excited about the premiere in Lexington. So
that's one thing
we haven't shown. I'm sorry.
We haven't hardly touched on that. See, I won't get the timing right and everything here. But we're pulling all the stops out. First of all, now Friday you're doing a panel discussion, correct?
Saturday.
Oh, that's right. It's Saturday at 6. You're right. No, you're right. You're right. You're right.
Well, I was told it was Saturday.
No, you are correct. Friday. Yeah, I forgot the event that we moved to a different time on Saturday. If you looked at as many times as I've had to look at this week, you'd understand how confused I am.
Oh no, I do understand.
Okay, so he's got a Saturday. Boy, it's gonna make you run across the street. The panel is at 6 if it doesn't get changed. Then the black carpet event is at 7 p.m. on Saturday for the premiere, and we're pulling out of the stops. We're actually putting up a backdrop and everything, rolling out black carpet and
awesome.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a big thing, and
but we haven't seen the movie on a theatrical screen yet. And we did a premiere here in Owensboro, but it was still during the height of the pandemic, so
it was in Bob's basement.
Very limited seating. We did it in an old church, and it looked great on the screen that we had it on. But I am super excited to see it on a theatrical screen.
So everybody, that's pretty much what we got with PJ. Now, PJ, we're going to do our review from Bonehead Weekly. And then after that, everybody, I'm going to go over some stuff I want to make sure that you're aware of. You can stay on screen or you can hang up, whatever you want to do, because you've been more than generous with your time with us. But everybody, I'll be right back with more about the Scarefest.
Hey, Scarefest, this is Joe Lewis. Man, everybody's talking about it. I went ahead and watched it, and now I'm going to talk to you about James Wan's Malignant. Malignant is a cancer that, if it doesn't go treated, can kill you. Malignant tells the story of a lady named Madison, who's paralyzed by shocking visions of these grisly murders that are happening. She just gets worse and worse when she discovers more and more about these dreams, these waking dreams. Who's this person that is killing people? Where are they coming from? How do they know her so well? Why are they always the same? Madison's played by this actress named Annabella Wallace. Now, I'm a real big James Wan fan. Went to the A-list now with, he did a Fast and Furious film, and he's the director of the Aquaman and the new Aquaman. His first film was Saw. He directed Dead Silence and Insidious and The Conjuring, the first two Insidious films and the first two Conjuring films. Those are all directed by James Wan. And he's great at making horror films. I actually, not being sarcastic, I really like him. And I love some of the visuals in this film. But the issue is if I actually tell you any more of the plot points in this picture, it's going to make the movie less enjoyable for you. Do not read anything about this movie. Don't see anything about this movie. Just go watch this movie. It's on HBO Max if you have that. Did I enjoy it? Yes. Is the acting terrible? Yes. The acting's so bad. Some of the screenwriting is terrible too. Some of the dialogue's awful. This movie actually was supposed to come out last year. It didn't come out last year because something called, COVID. So getting pushed and pushed and pushed, and now it's finally out. I said the acting's not great. Screenwriting, some of the dialogue's just awful. The last 5 minutes, there's a really great ending there that I wish he'd done that wouldn't have set it up for sequels, and that's not giving a lot away. Now, there's a lot of gore in this film, and it's got a batshit cliffhanger middle way through. And it kind of got ruined for me because it's very reminiscent of a couple of films, but one in particular, a low-budget film by, I just can't tell you because I don't want to ruin it for you. If you haven't seen *Malignant*, you'll enjoy it more if you know nothing about it. I recommend it. I enjoyed it. I'm just telling you that it's not the best acted film ever. I'm sure these people are fine, but I love some of the visuals in it. I love the gore. The batshit thing that happens midway through is actually right up my alley. I enjoy that. It also has some cameos in it from some directors. Zoe Bell, if you're familiar with Tarantino or Death Proof, she's in it in a scene that's absolutely amazing in a jail cell. You're either going to follow this movie and go, this is bad shit and makes no sense and dumb as hell, but I'm having a good time. Or you're going to go, this is bad shit, makes no sense, and it's dumb as hell. Those are your two reactions. I had the first. I enjoyed it. I highly recommend *Malignant*. It's a little different, even though it basically rips off a ton of other movies, but most of them you probably haven't seen because you probably haven't delved that much into horror. And don't think about any of the science in this movie. I would talk about it a little bit more, but I've looked it up. It's not even freaking possible. Don't think about it. Oh my God. There's a really great scene. See, I really like the movie. There's a really great scene once the third act and the spoiler happens. That happens in a police station. It's reminiscent of me of Terminator. This has been Joe Lewis of Bonehead Weekly. Shh. Once you watch it, don't tell anybody the secret. You can probably guess the secret if you've watched enough horror films as you go, but shh. Some of us are not going to know. Don't tell those folks. Let them find out on their own.
I cut off PJ during the thing. He was telling us an ex-wife story, and we thought maybe that's something we shouldn't have on the TV. Anyway, everybody, okay. The one thing I've worked on really hard, of course, as many of you know, I'm the webmaster that's one of my many job descriptions for the Scarefest. So I just want you all to know now, you can go to the Scarefest, and we have put up, of the information we currently have, a comprehensive schedule of everything going on, and I want to touch on that, and then we're going to go over our seminar speakers. But okay, the Lex Live launch party is starting Thursday. That is the 21st. If you're in town for the Scarefest and you're there for the Thursday, first of all, I'm just going to say it, I don't know how many will show up, but probably about 2/3 of our celebrities are flying in a day early. And they're doing it because the airlines suck ass nowadays, and they're afraid they'll miss the convention if they try to cut it too close. So anyway, we'll have celebrities in town if the flights fly on time. Now, whether they come across the street, I don't know. But the launch party, now we're doing a horror trivia for that. We're not, now it came up in the chat room, we're not doing karaoke on Thursday night, but I'll tell you why when I get to karaoke. But we do have horror trivia playing. Of course, you can just be like me. I'm going to have a couple beers and go bowling. I'm thinking I'm going to just go bowling because that just seems like such a non-convention thing to do. Our film festival, the Scarefest Film Festival, starts on Friday, and it's starting actually at 2 p.m. When I used to go to the Scarefest as a non-worker, as a fan, I used to go down about dinner time to find a good place to park, and then I sat on my ass all afternoon just waiting for them to let me in the doors. Well, this year, you can actually go across the street to Lex Live and start watching our film festival. It'll start at least at 2. We're actually in talks to even, we might start at 1 o'clock. So just so you know. But right now, it's scheduled for 2. You go on and get in on that. If you have your Scarefest pass on your phone or buy one at the kiosk, they call it, you're good. It's included in all of the Scarefest passes. Friday is Hero Day. If you are a first responder, that includes law enforcement, firefighters, medics, military, retired, active, doesn't matter. But if you're in any of those categories, you get in free on Friday. Just bring your ID and you're good to go. The Black Carpet event for the Scarefest is at 3 p.m. That's the official launch of Scarefest. That'll be right at the entrance of Scarefest. VIP, media, you're welcome into that. If you got 3-day passes or stuff like that. No, you gotta wait till 4. Casually Friday, I mentioned horror trivia. Now we're doing horror trivia also on the floor. We don't have the schedule set yet, but just so you know, if you're a trivia fan, we will have those schedules up very soon, and you can get in on that. Our costume contest is a little different this year. I want to make sure everybody understands that. We're not having the costume ball Saturday night like we always do. What we're doing, we're combining the costume ball and the VIP party, and Friday night we're just going to go bowling and throw axes at people. No, and karaoke. But the costume contest will have judging on the floor at 4 p.m. You sign up at 3:30, then they'll have the normal procession. Then our finalists, and I'm thinking the number is 10, but whatever the finalist is for the adult costume contest, will get VIP party tickets, and the finals will be that night at the VIP party. So just so you know, that's how the costume party contest and party. Now, if you don't have a VIP pass and you're not one of the finalists, still go to Lex Live. I tried to explain it on the advertising page, but okay, we're in the corner bar. The other bar is called the Game Day Sports Bar. It's like 30 foot away with a common lobby. If you go to the Game Day, you will basically experience the edge of the costume party. You'll hear DJ Trey. It's almost as good as being there. So just so you know, let's take over Lex Live that night. Sunday's Kids Day. Kids get in all free all weekend, 12 and under, but we get a bunch of special stuff planned for Sunday. Kids Trick or Treat will be going on. Thriller Dance Class. I want to do that. Scream Queen Contest just for kids. Kids Costume Contest. Kids Horror Trivia. And we're also going to have the junior high horror comic book. We'll have a panel that day at some point. The okay, after hours. Okay, I've already talked about all that stuff. Karaoke. I do want to touch on karaoke. We're doing karaoke at 9 p.m. Yes, it does conflict. That's when we're starting it. It conflicts with the axe throwing and the bowling. Thing is, it doesn't have to end at 10 o'clock. It doesn't have to end at 11 o'clock. We got the building till 1 a.m. If we can keep singing and keep the interest going, we can just keep doing karaoke, which we want to do because I have it on good authority that Felissa Rose and R.A. Mihailoff absolutely fucking love karaoke. So there, I'm putting it out there. There's my F-bomb for the evening so that I'm not monetized by YouTube. Okay, we've got Cruel Summer also will be showing Friday night at 9 p.m. Weird Science will be showing Friday night at 9 p.m. in another theater, and those, of course, Scott Tepperman will be there for Cruel Summer. We're not sure. We put their pictures on there, but we didn't name them by name. We can just say, oh, they're in the movie. No, we've got celebrities coming, but we have not confirmed which celebrities will be there for the panel. Then midnight movie on Friday, don't forget, is The Toxic Avenger, and it will be introduced by Mark Torgel. Saturday after hours, the Booth Brothers are bringing The Attached. That goes on at 8 o'clock. Then at 9 o'clock, we start the VIP party. DJ Trey will be DJing. That's another thing. If you're in the building with DJ Trey, you're going to hear the music. There's just no way you'll hear it in the bowling alley. So I don't know how that's going to work in a movie theater. But anyway, that's their problem. Night of the Demons is our feature film, one of our feature films for Saturday. That's 9 p.m. The Horror Drag Show, which we've become famous for, is at 9:30. Somebody asked on Facebook, why don't you all sell a VIP ticket so I can get in the Horror Drag Show? You can actually, we're going to put them on sale this weekend. You can buy a ticket to the Horror Drag Show. If that's your thing, if that's what you want to go to, you can just buy a ticket to that, and it's going to be dirt cheap. It's going to be really, really affordable. Then the costume contest finals will be at 10. And also at the 10 o'clock, we have Killer Clowns from Outer Space showing. So that's what we've got on the calendar so far, and I'm still putting stuff on there. Seminar speakers, go to the website. I'd hate to run this long, but Bev McChesney, Tanya Webb, Alan Marston, Stephanie Bingham, Susan McComas, Spirit Mechanics, Danny Bailey, Steve Coles, Claire Heaney, Gavin and Paula Kelly, Bud Jennis, Bluegrass Ghost Hunters, and Christina Kiefer and William Americ. Anyway, those are some of our speakers, but now we've got the speaker schedule preliminary posted on the website. I think it's going to adjust a little bit because we've moved the stages around a little bit, but you can see what people are talking about. That's our show for the evening. I've covered everything that I'm paid to cover. Once again, shout out to Meredith Blackwell. It's a great shirt. And anybody that was wondering, this is actually more of a bowling shirt. It's not a Hawaiian shirt, but it looks really good on the green screen, so I wore that tonight instead of Hawaiian. So there. But I have a Hawaiian bowling shirt that I will wear that Friday night. So there we go. Chad, thanks for co-hosting. PJ, thanks for coming on. Hope we didn't bore you too bad.
No. Well, maybe at the end a little bit.
Yeah, you know.
For most of it, I was pretty good.
It happens. It happens.
Thank you all so much.
I try to make it interesting. Everybody, this has been Scarefest TV. We'll be back next week.